Hello and welcome to the weekly Blackpool FC preview show. I'm Jed Mills, and coming up today, we'll look back on the Seasiders' recent matches against Fleetwood Town and Burton Albion. Demetri Mitchell reflects on his recent appearances. Head coach Neil Critchley discusses Saturday's match at Oxford. We'll hear from former Seasider Paul Simpson, plus Marvin Ekpiteta answers your questions. And record for the lineup for this week's show, a former Blackpool striker, Brett Ormerod. Well, Brett, looking at last week's, again, another 2 games, and another 2 points as well, but against 2 teams in good form.
Yeah, it's drawing 2 home games. You're a bit disappointing, but I think Neil Critchley will be quite. It keeps the unbeaten run going. The Fleetwood playing against your neighbours. A lot of players have played for both clubs. Changing clubs. I'm similar with the managers, so they're always tight affairs. Burton. You're playing the informed team in the league. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's gone back into Burton and he's had an immediate reaction, and I think they've won 9 out of 11, so always going to be a difficult game. Just think the irony is if they'd have played Burton when they should have played them, they would have had played a team who's probably not as confident, weren't winning football matches, but with the lapse of the gods, Burton are flying, and it turned out to be a good point in the end.
Yeah, it was a good game as well. Let's take a look at the highlights from both Fleetwood and Burton. Looking at the Fleetwood game first, some good chances for Blackpool. That's probably why Neil Critchley was a little bit disappointed, because he really felt he could have won that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. Jerry Yates and Ellis Sims, made a few good saves off them. But again, it's just one of them. You're disappointed because they've had a few draws here now at home and stuff. But you look at the league table, they're well poised. They've got I think they've got 50 points now, and a couple of games in hand.
Yeah, and Burton as well. Again, a few chances. A really good goal from Luke Garbett that we saw there as well. Really well worked. But again, a few opportunities later on in the game to nick that game. Yeah,
I mean, Burton come flying out the traps, didn't they? They utilised the long throw. A bit like Rory Delap, next teammate of mine at Southampton, at Stoke. I mean, I can't ever remember him taking throw-ins at Southampton, but at Stoke, Tony Pulis sort of weaponised it, didn't he? And Burton, very good on set pieces. But second half, Neil Critchley, he made a tactical change like he did against Portsmouth, bringing Ellis Sims off, bringing a midfielder in, shoring up that midfield, and it paid dividends. And I think Blackpool, Garbett, he started the opportunity, closed down from the front, but his finishes from a tight angle on the left-hand side, really good finish.
You mentioned that slow start for Blackpool against Burton Albion. What was that change, and was it that half-time substitution, do you think?
Yeah, I think it just brought a bit more urgency. Blackpool, they started to hold the ball a bit more, played a few 1-2s, and just opened up that Burton press, which was so effective for them in the first half. And it started to create chances, and they created a few. I think it was the Kai chance, where he's cut inside, and it's just past the post, which was very unlucky. And at that point, second half, I just felt that Blackpool could have gone on and won it. But it should give them confidence, the way they responded second half.
Another good chance for Jerry Yates that he created himself, though, wasn't it? Again, similar to that goal, that wonder goal he scored against Northampton. You were thinking he's going to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, he's so good at turning. He gets the balls, balls played into him, and he can turn, from when he's back against the defender and keep the ball, and he twists and turns. And you just felt for that second where he could have got his shot off, and he pulled it back onto his right, a bit like the Northampton goal. When I watched the Northampton goal, I thought he's done too much, but he was fantastic. And he just got his shot off, but he just went into the side netting.
One man who impressed in that draw with Burton Albion was Demetri Mitchell, with CJ Hamilton missing through injury at the weekend. The 24-year-old was deployed out wide for the Seasiders, providing a real threat. Well, here he is discussing his time with Blackpool to date.
Yeah, I thought I showed a different side to my game. Obviously, I've played more as a left back whilst being at Blackpool, but I've played there before in my younger days whilst I was at United and growing up. So something I can do left or right side, and yeah, we enjoyed it.
You've touched on it there, naturally playing at left back. Are you happy to slot in where the gaffer wants you to fit, and also do you like going forward in an attacking fashion?
Yeah, well, I think that's the best bit of my game going forward. So, I spoke with the manager, and he knows that I can play both positions, left back, left wing, right wing. So, yeah, it's something I'm comfortable doing, and I hope to do it more often.
And you must be hoping that your performances of late will mean that the gaffer will pick you to continue into the side.
Yeah, of course. I just do the most when I go into the pitch. Try my hardest, work hard for the team, try and get the 3 points, and yeah, hopefully if that's good enough to get selected, then that's good enough. Yeah.
And last year away at Oxford, on Saturday, a chance for the side to make it 4 straight away wins?
Yeah, that'll be good. We've shown some good home form over the whole season. Now it's good that our away form's picking up. You know, like you just said, 4 straight away wins. That'll be magnificent. Hopefully we can do that this weekend.
Yeah, Demetri Mitchell there speaking to us on the Blackpool FC preview show. Brett, how impressed have you been with him? Because again, he's starting in one position, he's coming on Tuesday in an unfamiliar position really. How impressed have you been with him?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, he's he's got plenty of pace. He's another player who's absolutely rapid. Started at left back, played left wing. He's played on the right wing now. He's a bit like Danny Coy was for us, and many years ago. He's a bit of a he can wherever you put him, he's more than capable of doing a really good job.
How good is it though as well when you can play on that right but cut in on the left and get that ball whipped in?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the manager will utilise him as best he can. But when you've got a player, no matter where, with the pace that he has, but obviously like CJ Hamilton, you're always a threat. So whether he's left back, right back, left wing, right wing, he's been impressive this season.
And I suppose really good options as well for the head coach Neil Critchley, to have someone who can play in. Yeah, he's not his preferred position maybe, but he can do a really good job there.
Yeah, especially when you've got the injuries. If you start getting quite a few injuries. But yeah, I mean, it must give the manager must have a real headache playing, picking a team week in week out, because he's got, like I said, he's got a fantastic squad.
Well, Demetri Mitchell will be hoping to keep his place in the side this weekend as Blackpool travel to Oxford United. Well, here is Neil Critchley with his thoughts ahead of Saturday's game.
We've had, 3 good journeys home recently. We've enjoyed them because our performances and how we've played. 3 really tough places to go to, and we played brilliantly well in those games to pick up the 3 points. Oxford's going to be no different, and they had a really good win on Tuesday. We know the good, how well coached and how well managed they are, and we know the players that they've got. So we're going to have to produce a similar level of performance if we want to get something from the game tomorrow.
And it's similar to those sorts of teams, aren't it, that they're all in and around where the 3 points can be big?
Yeah, Oxford, they're in the playoffs last season. They didn't start brilliantly this season, but I remember the home games saying that they will pick up eventually, and they will be in the top half, and they've proven that. They've got aspirations of pushing up and being in and around the playoffs again, but so have we. And we don't want to, you don't want to lose ground on your rivals if you can. So we've got to go there and make sure that we try and impose our game onto them, which will be difficult because they'll be full of confidence after Tuesday night. But we're confident in how we're playing away from home, especially, and if we can do that, then there's no reason why we can't bring back another good result.
We spoke on Monday about needing goals from all areas of the team, and it was nice on Tuesday night to see Luke Garbett get up and running as well.
Yeah, it was, and that's what Garbs is capable of. It's something that I'd said in one of the meetings recently about everyone contributing, and at that stage of the game I thought it was fully deserved. And it was came after one of our attacks, and we counter-pressed really well, aggressive around the ball, both him and Elliott. And, from where he was on the pitch and the angle he was at, it was a terrific strike across the goalkeeper, a real moment of quality that got us back into the game.
You mentioned that counter-press. How satisfying has that been in terms of that, and obviously the goal at MK Dons where you're seeing it really bear fruit?
Yeah. I think that's something you see the MK Dons where we pressed high and won the ball back. This was a different sort of situation where we talk about protecting our attacks and not letting the opposition out if we can help it, and we did that very well. I still think we can improve a lot in these moments. There's lots of situations where I think we could be more aggressive or on the front foot and be braver without the ball. But again, the honesty and the endeavour of the players, they couldn't ask for any more. They give you everything they've got, the players. It's up to myself and the staff to help these players to improve, and not just without the ball, but on the ball as well. And I think if we can do that, and we're showing signs of that in the last couple of games where we've controlled large periods of the games, particularly in the second half. If you can marry both sides of the game up, then we're not far away from being a very good team.
That was head coach Neil Critchley there. Brett, talking about Oxford United, they've always been a good side, haven't they? Always played good football, but they started off, with some poor form. Was that a playoff hangover, do you think?
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Jed. Early on in the season, obviously, they've some really good players, good manager, played some fantastic football last season, and I think it was just a bit of a headache. But you always knew they had the quality in the ranks to get their act together, and when they did, there'd be a threat. And they had over Christmas and stuff, they've had a fantastic run. So again, another team who are very, very dangerous and very good at home.
Yeah, I think there were 9 winning games, wasn't it, after Christmas as well. I think they sit now 3 points off the players. Are they going to be there or thereabouts? We talked about Burton getting into form now. Oxford, are these the teams that, when you look at maybe getting a draw or getting a win, you know you're going to be there or thereabouts if you compete with these teams? Yeah,
you've got to compete with them, or else they'll play off the park. And especially related to Oxford, again, like I said early on in the season, you just knew it was going to come, and it has done. So I expect them to be there thereabouts, like you said. They're a fantastic team.
0-0 back in December. Do you think it'll be that, or do you think it'll be some goals on the score
I'm hoping
sheet?
it'll be a Blackpool win. I remember CJ Hamilton hitting posts a few times. I did the commentary game here for Radio Lancashire, and it was a good game, but I felt Blackpool were the better team on the day, and we're quite not unfortunate not to come away with 3 points.
Yeah, Blackpool a couple of draws here at home, but last ones on the road, all 3 wins. Does that stand them in good stead?
Well, I hope so. Yes, it's their away form at the moment is as good as anyone, so hopefully they'll go to Oxford and like I say, the performances have been good, but you just try and get that 3 points just to make it also more special.
Is that why you think that the no fans at the moment, has that helped with being for away teams coming here, or Blackpool going to other grounds as well?
I think it's just been a strange one throughout throughout every league that there is. Starting with the Prem. I mean, it's you see a lot of different results nowadays. I think if you could go to some kind of pie chart over the last couple of seasons with results on teams who with fans in and without fans, I think you'd be surprised. Just a result that pops to mind is Aston Villa beating Liverpool early on before Van Dijk was injured and all that, 7-2, wasn't it, at Villa Park. So yeah, I mean, it's just an unprecedented season, but I'm all for get the fans back as quick as possible.
Well, someone who represented both Oxford and Blackpool as a player is Paul Simpson, now an assistant head coach at Bristol City. Here he is reflecting on his time in Tangerine.
People say to me about which over your whole career was the most enjoyable, and I put Blackpool, that first season with Blackpool, up there with any other season that I had as being a fantastic season. I was 34, thought I was going to finish, and I ended up playing, I think I played over 50 games that season just because I enjoyed my football. I didn't feel any pressure. Steve Mcmahon was absolutely brilliant with me. And let's be fair, we had a good side as well. You think of some of the players we had with Danny Coyd, John Hills, Tommy Yashin, Big Reedy and Hughesy at the back, Lee Collins with Richie Wellens, Bretton Murph up front. We then brought in Martin Bullock a little bit later. We had some really good players for that level of football, and Steve did really well. He kept training quite relaxed, and everybody, he could give out a right volley when he wanted to, but it was just a good place to be, and we just made it as good as we possibly could, and we made it a really good season.
You mentioned all those names there, and you say about it was free flowing in terms of goals, and there's so many 4-0s, 5-0s, even a 6-0, but at the same time, there could also be the odd heavy defeat here and there.
Oh, just a bit. I mean, the turning point was probably Barnet away. And we ended up having a bit of a row, or no, not we. I ended up having a bit of a row on the Monday with Steve Mcmahon because he got everybody into to training at Squires Gate, and we were out on the grass, and he started having a go at everybody, saying nobody cares, nobody's even thought about it over the weekend. And I said, no, I'm sorry, Gaffer, I'm going to have to stop you there. I said, because I've never lost 6-0 in my life. I said, so in fact, it might have even been 7. I don't even remember the score. Was it 7? So I said, I've never lost that score. I said, I've done nothing but think about it over the weekend. He said, well, come on then, who's to blame? And I said, well, I think you've got to look at yourself as well. I said, we were rubbish, but you have to look at yourself because we need to be a bit better organised. When it works, it's brilliant. And, Steve had this philosophy that we just turn up like they used to do at Liverpool. And I actually said to him, we aren't Liverpool. We aren't as good as Liverpool. That's why we're playing in Division 3. We've all got flaws in our character, but, we have to have a shape to be organised to so that when it doesn't go well, we have something to fall back on. And we ended up having a row. And then when everybody else had gone, we carried on having a bit of a row. But we sort of came to an agreement that it did need to happen. And to be fair to him and Mark Seagraves and Ginge, who was our coach at the time, they did a little bit of work and got us right. But we just got on a roll then, and we started picking up results and ended up sneaking into the playoffs right at the end of the season.
How much did the club benefit from your experience and the way you probably had to adapt your game a little bit?
It's hard for me to say really, but I mean, I was treated really well by Steve Mcmahon and Mark Seagraves and Ginge. I've got to say, there was never a problem. They always looked after me. My job was to be out there and was to either be scoring goals or providing balls for Brett, for Big Murph up front. And those two as a combination were outstanding. I knew that if I picked the ball up wherever I was, I didn't even need to lift my head. I knew I could hit a diagonal and Murph would be on the end of it, and somewhere around him, Brett would be to try and get in onto the second ball. So we had a really good understanding. And I enjoyed my football. Steve didn't sort of expect me to go and win tackles and to be winning headers, which I've never been able to do in my career. He just knew what... I think it's a thing that Nigel Pearson says now, you're in the team for what you can do, not what you can't do. And I think Steve knew what I could do and allowed me to do that. And it helped me. I managed to get goals that season, and Brett and Murph also managed to get goals. And even people like Richie Wellens was a great player in that side who was getting goals for us as well.
When you look at playoff teams, it's always about timing that run to perfection, and towards that end of that season, it was just non-stop wins, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and like you say, it is about timing it. There's always one team that jumps out of the pack and gets into the playoffs and gets that momentum, and that was us. Hartlepool in the semi-finals. I don't know, I can't remember the score. I think it was about 5-1. We probably won on aggregate in that game. And getting to the final, we were so confident. We really were. We were in a real good run of form. Steve wanted us to do it properly. He got everybody the cup final suits, and we went down a couple of days early and stayed at the hotel down there. And it was just a brilliant occasion. And I've had a bit of luck at the Millennium Stadium. I've had horrible luck at Wembley, where I've never won in 5 games, I think it is. But Millennium, I've managed to get a couple of victories, so it wasn't too bad.
And to score as well.
Yeah, nice simple one. Brett slipped it through for me and I managed to tuck it away, so it was good. Especially after the start we had with Barnsley slipping, I think after about 20 seconds, and we go 1-0 down, you think, oh my word, what's going to happen here? But I think we just showed really good character, and I think that's what happens when you're a team who are playing with confidence. You manage to find a way to win, and that's what we did on the day.
I mentioned before, putting it on a plate for that strike force. Brett and Murph, between him, over 50 goals that season. It was a formidable pair, wasn't it?
Oh, they were outstanding together. I've got to say, I was really surprised that John Murphy didn't go and play higher. Didn't go on and get a good move. I wasn't surprised at all when Brett did. He scored all sorts of goals. He scored headers. He scored scruffy tap-ins that came off his socks halfway down his shins and off his backside. But he scored some worldy goals as well. He was. They were just an excellent pairing, and great for me as somebody who liked assisting, because I just knew that I could slide balls down the side and Brett had the pace to get in behind. I could clip a diagonal and Murph would win his fair share of headers, and then Brett would get on the end of it. So it was just, they were a really good combination for that level.
That was Paul Simpson there. Brett, very complimentary. How much did you pay him for half of that?
Yeah, a bit of a smile to my face, what a player. He came to us, like he said, at the back end of his career. We had a lot of young lads, and and he was absolutely magnificent. He was our for a modern day young football fan, he was our Charlie Adam. He had, again, one of the best left foots I've ever seen. He was frightening in training. He could pick you out from anywhere. And for me and Murph, I mean, I always said John Murphy was probably the best strike partner I ever had in my career, just through them. But he was a massive. If there was a tripod, he was the third person, because his quality of dead ball situations, or or when he's on the move, his crosses, and he could create. You made the run and he could find you. He was a fantastic player, and me and Murph benefited massively off him.
You talked about that sort of, I suppose, similarity between him and Charlie Adam. I know you talked about that diagonal ball in that sort of Ian Holloway team. He was talked about there, that diagonal. I didn't need to look, that diagonal ball. Murphy was there, you drop in. Again, you played in both sides. Was it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Simo was more on, a left-sided player, but we tried to get the ball out to him. I mean, as much as possible. And like he said, he never had to. If you can go back and watch some of the goals, like his quality of crossing. I mean, he could rather smash it to the back post, and he knew Murph would win it. I'd try and play off him and so, but he was just quality. When he came to us, you knew he played higher. You knew he'd been around, and he'd play at the highest level. And like I said, he was magnificent. He was a massive part of our promotion season that season. Yeah,
he talked there about you going on to play at a higher level. He knew that probably would happen, but not as much for John Murphy. Didn't go on, and he was surprised by that. Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, definitely, because I think Murph could have easily played in the Championship. He was a big man, but he had quality feet. He could read a game. He was a very unselfish partner, strike partner. So he had all the attributes. Whether it might have been injury, he did have a lot of problems with his back later on, and I think he retired early through that, did Murph, which is a shame really, because like I said, he was probably the best strike partner I had throughout my career.
Was it that Barnet game that sort of changed everything, and why did it change everything?
Well, yeah, obviously, I mean, it was a 7-0 defeat. It's funny you should say Mcmahon. It did say no one were hurting, because it still hurts me thinking about it. It was just one of them games. I think it was quite even for the first 10-15 minutes, and then they got a new manager. Tony Cottage just took a player manager role there. Darren Curry, I remember, I think he might have got an hat-trick, but he was absolutely phenomenal that day. And it was a case of everything they hit went in, and everything we hit didn't. And there was a few arguments and stuff after the game and the following Monday, but we got on a real roll, and I remember beating Barnet, probably our last home game of the season here, 3-2, and we ended up getting into the playoffs and going up, and they got relegated. So it just goes to show.
What was Steve Mcmahon like as a manager? I remember being a young reporter standing there when someone quite experienced asked him a question on his tactics and the formation, and he didn't ask him again. Put it that way. What was he like?
he took no prisoners, did Steve Mcmahon. I mean, like Simo said, in training that it was generally chilled out, and it was a bit like Liverpool. We just turned up, we did 5-a-sides. I used to love it, because I used to hate all the boring stuff about set pieces and going through shadow play and all that stuff. But but when he went, and you just put your head down. But he was fantastic again. We had a good, he's a great manager for us, and it was just a great time to be at the club.
Yeah, seen some of those highlights as well. That final. I mean, just talk us through that. It seemed as though there was just a pure confidence that you knew you were going to win that game.
Yeah, don't ask me why. It was one of them. We went behind twice. Phil Boyne slipped after about 20 odd seconds, and I remember Murph. I won't say on camera what Murph was, but we out playing that well first half. We went in at 2-2, and I remember Steve Mcmahon saying something about, this is our game, this, we're blessed, we haven't played particularly well, and we're still in the game with 2-2. So, and the second half we went out, I think they hit the post early on, but after that we just took over the game, and once Simo scored, there were only going to be us as winners, and again I was lucky enough to get the final goal.
Well, sticking with Leyton Orient, it was from the O's where Blackpool signed Marvin Ekpiteta in the summer. Well, this week he sat down to answer some of your questions.
The first one is, who is your best friend in the dressing room? And that's from Brad. I've got a few, to be honest, but I'll say my closest best friend is Saleh Kai, SK.
Has that been easy to build up relationships in the dressing room, being somebody who's new?
Yeah, it has been, to be fair. Before I signed, I thought it would be a bit difficult, but all the boys are good, we all get on well, so it was quite easy to mix with the boys. Yeah.
The second question is, the first football shirt you had, and did you have a name on the back of it? And that's from Zach.
Yeah, so my first football shirt I had was Arsenal shirt, and I had Henri 14 at the back.
So you went for the skillful players?
Yeah. He was my idol. Even though I was a defender, he was still one of my idols.
Okay, in terms of idols, that brings us to the next question. Is there any sort of player that you modelled your game on, or was an inspiration growing up? And that's from Jake.
Yeah, so Rio Ferdinand was my like all-time idol. He still is now. The way he played, the way he was off the pitch as well. So everything, I just wanted to copy. I just wanted to be him.
Is it one of those where you sort of watched clips of what he did and try and utilise aspects of that in your game?
Yeah. So as I was growing up, I watched loads of his clips. Tried to watch every United game when he played, even though I didn't support them. But yeah, everything he done really, I just tried to copy it. Just try and just mimic it.
Question next one is, what's the secret to keeping so many clean sheets? And that's from Tom.
I'll say the main thing is just concentration and just trying to organise all the boys in front of me and around me, and just trying to stay as solid as possible, concentrating throughout the whole game, literally to the end, to the final whistle. So I think that's the main thing, concentration. And
I imagine it's about sort of marshalling those in front of you so you don't have to block as many things and tackle so many players.
Yeah, it's getting people in the right positions and stuff. That makes my job easier, it makes their job easier, and which makes the team's job easier. So yeah, that's definitely a big part of it.
The next one, this is from Stephen, and he says, was it an easy decision to come to Blackpool in the summer, and what's the latest on the injury front?
So it was a very easy decision to come here, like footballing wise, but the only difficult bit was having to move so far away. It's my first time moving all the way up here, and I just had a baby, so I had to bring my missus and my baby up with us, so that was a difficult decision, but I knew in the long run it would definitely pay off, be worth it.
And in terms of the injury?
Yeah, so I've been in the gym every day, been trying to do my rehab stuff, just trying to get back fit as quick as possible, so hopefully I'll be back soon.
Good stuff. What drives you on to become a top professional, asks Miles?
As you know, football's not really a long career, so I just want to try and achieve as much success as possible in this short time. So yeah, that's what drives me, to try and win as much trophies, as much awards as possible.
Are there any particular things that you focus on and you work on quite a lot to make sure that you stay at the top of your game?
I'll say mainly, the main things I like to work on are just, so as a defender, so my heading, my clearances, just like the basics. I try to master the basics to make sure when I get the basics right, then everything sort of falls into place from there. So yeah, that's the main thing, just get my basics right, and then from there, everything falls into place.
And finally, Brad has asked, does Sergio Ramos ever ring you and ask for any tips?
Yeah, I think he called me once, to be fair. But yeah, he's another one of my idols I look up to. I look up to all the top centre halves. I try to get little bits from each one of them to try and get the best out of myself.
But he's not one who's got you on speed dial in the Champions League winner telling you out. Any tips? No?
No, he hasn't.
Marvin, thanks for your time.
No problem, thank you.
Well, let's talk about Marvin Ekpiteta. He's played every league game since, and then obviously got the injury as well since coming in from Leyton Orient. How impressed have you been with him?
I think he's one of them. He's got better as the season has gone on. You know, he's been, like you said, an ever-present and really good defender. It just seems to be getting better under Neil Critchley. Seems to be learning all the time, and turning into a really good player. It's an unfortunate injury, but you know that's football.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit of a trend at the moment. I know he came in with good credentials. A lot of the Leyton Orient fans were sort of sad to see him go because of how good he was. But again, when Neil Critchley seems to pick these players up, they seem to, like I say, get better under his management.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably one of the reasons he picks them. You know, he thinks, you know, not only are they good players, but he's looking at players where he thinks he can improve them and take them to another level. And he's certainly done that with Ekpiteta.
Well, obviously, of course, he now has gone out with injury. But a man stepping in, James Husband, again, maybe a bit out of position, but has done really well at centre half.
Yeah, I mean, he's very good as James. You watch him, he's left back, but he reads the game really well. you know, I think he'd probably be the first to say he's not the quickest, but it's the way he reads the game. He always seems to be in the right position at the right time, and his slot, it's been seamless, you know, when he's played there. And you know, he's got the option of Garbutt on, put him on the left side. So yeah, it's just another string to Neil Critchley's bow.
Again, is that a good thing for him? You talked about headaches before, about having maybe a few of those defenders who can play in different positions, because let's be honest, this season has been pretty relentless, just Saturday, Tuesdays all the time.
Yeah, well, you're going to need it, you know. And like I said, he brings players in, you know, who will fit his model. But James Husband, he's, like I said, it's been seamless. He looks like he's played at centre half his whole career.
Well, Brett, thank you very much for your time today. Well, next week we're going to be taking your questions from this man. That's right, Andy Morrell will be answering your questions next week, so keep an eye out on the club's social media channels to see how you can send in your questions. And you can watch Saturday's game against Oxford United live by purchasing an iFollow match pass from the club's official website. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again at the same time next week.